Okay, great. GM, everyone, welcome to our weekly all hands meeting. Let me share my screen before I forget, which I normally do. All right, here we go. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Take a quick attendance. And Dimples is here, and Winverse is here. Nice. Okay, so welcome to our weekly all team tactical. We're going to take this time to sync up on the work that we're doing, eliminate blockers, and prioritize our work for the next week. In case you forgot what we do, we help purpose-driven communities use Web3 tooling to generate revenue and engagement. And on the metric side, we have 68 in transaction volume, so down 800 from the week previous. We have 4 weekly transacting users, 0 new users, and 11 communities deployed. Actually, I just copied this from last thing, but our snapshot is already completed, so I'll remove that. Don't forget to use what did you ship when you ship something for BCard. So Sprinkles, I don't think that you put your time in for the work that you did to get that pull request up.
So I didn't, but it's not done. So I will when it's done.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure that you know to put it in there.
Thank you.
And we do have standard bounties as well. On the milestone perspective, so on the support side, so Sprinkles is working on a bug for the users not having tokens. I think that there's no active vote up right now, but I actually want to put one up. Well, maybe I'll put one up today. I do have enough events to get going. I think I'm not sure if they're all if the hosts have all filled in the form. So I'll just double check today. Worst case, I can throw one up on that test snapshot space that you made, Tom, so that we can kind of test if people don't have tokens, how it works on our staging site. But we shall see. So there was a generic error message. Did you understand the notes I left on that pull request?
I did, and I implemented them. I just want to view it first before I push it.
Cool. Sounds good. Are you able to get it running on your local machine?
No, because I need the envelope to get
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
But once I have that, I will. I have everything out there.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, and so that environment, I actually should double check it, and I'm just going to write it down because we did add some things since then. Let me just write it here, double check .end in Vault Warden. But hopefully after this email, after this meeting, we'll get you into the shared password manager so that you have access to it.
Okay.
Worst case, I can send you like a dev env because we have like the dev one and our production one are different. So it's not terrible for us to send some dev credentials over the wire. It would be better if it's in the password manager, but yeah, to unblock you, we shall see.
Okay.
Cool. So moving on from there, we still have a couple of open bugs. They're on our product weekly, but they're nothing massive. So we can work on them as we go. On the community pages side, I did get some progress on voting. Actually, no, it's not running right now. Oh, is it running? Let's see. Localhost 2000. Is it running? Yeah, it's running. So there you go. We got our votes here on the side, very similar to what it looks like on our BCard app. The only thing is that it doesn't actually work when you're actually voting. So it does almost everything except the actual voting. And so I need to take a look at that. Also, like the styles, they're just not quite there. One of the things I was wondering about, and maybe it's something that I can talk to you about, Tom, as well, is like, what is the best way? Because like, if we wanted to use this in multiple websites, what is the best way to set styles without kind of without being overly, let's say, opinionated on the colors and such? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just making everything black and white and then allowing people to override the styles, but then it's kind of like, how do we actually allow people to override the style? So anyways, it's something I wanted to poke you about, Tom, because
probably
I wasn't quite sure.
Probably a theme style sheet would be the suggestion there, I guess, in terms of like a general override. So like a theme wide style sheet that gets applied to everybody's content, depending on what theme they have selected. That might be one way to look at it. I I think it looks awesome. I think your output looks great. I mean, it's so cool to see all that info being fed out, and it looks clean and nice.
Yeah, just like I guess like um anyways, I don't want to get too deep into the tech. We'll talk about it later. But the thing with the theme is that it relies on classes, and right now those classes are kind of like there's like an internal style sheet which has classes,
Mm, right,
and
right.
so it's like that style sheet gets dynamically like the styles on the page get dynamically created based upon whatever styles dot vote class name equals styles dot votes or whatever, right? And so like it's not going to show up as votes, it's going to show up as like something kind of like a little bit more random, so it's harder to override those styles. And maybe it's just like, oh well, we shouldn't use that css, we shouldn't use that way to do css if we want people to override the styles.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about sort of like a general CSS system implementation that we can make extensible for the future that sort of does, like you say, content as a layer, and then like a theme that can be applied on top of that layer that is applied across all the content. We can probably
Yeah,
build that.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
So something to talk about, and I thought it was kind of interesting. But anyways, we shall talk about it when we get some time. But yeah, here it is right here. I can't actually test it properly until I have a new vote going up. And so I remember when you were testing it, you had that snapshot space. That is a yeah. There's some other issues here actually that we could probably talk about. Like this is all of the events. Anyways, a bunch of other things to do. You probably won't notice it just by looking at it, but yeah, other things to talk about on that front. So yeah, some progress, but I still think quite a bit of things need to be done before it actually gets released. But probably I could reduce that really to just submitting votes. When submitting votes works, then we could probably release it, and then we can make everything better as we go. And another thing
As
is
an,
like,
as a fallback, I like the way you have it now too with the jump out to snapshot. So like even if we don't end up having a slick system, then we can still give people a fallback. Like say for example, they don't have a wallet connected, right? Then they can still use that view to or jump to snapshot and vote link, like connect up their own wallet manually. So that is cool.
yeah. Yeah, so one of the things as well related to this is that like, oh, okay, if we wanted to like look if they have a wallet connected, because like the way it's looking is Privy right now, so we're just like looking at Privy under the hood. And really I was just like, oh, we should probably actually abstract this away because we just want to know if a wallet is connected and use Privy like somewhere else and not have like Privy being littered in all of our like little subcomponents. Anyways, it's all things that we can talk about and fix like one by one, and it's not like a blocker, but yeah. Maybe even doing a first release where we don't even
Yeah.
like look for a wallet.
Yeah, Privy's got a new React client out too as well. There might be some bug
Oh, do they?
fixes and updates in there too as well. I think there was a 3.0 release just a couple weeks ago. I was looking at it, so maybe there's some features that will help us. But I think for the most part, they said it's just cleanup and tightening, so that could help us.
Cool. All right. So I'll continue working on that. After voting, it's going to be time to get the endowment fund working, deposit withdraw using Privy. And again, this is another reason why I was thinking about like, how do we handle wallets in here? Probably we want to just have like a little wallet provider kind of thing, which allows us to consume the wallet state without having to like rely on Privy. We'll still be relying on Privy under the hood, but then this
Yeah,
allows us to do other things.
Yeah, I agree. The best scenario would probably be package up our like transaction data that we need to process the transactions and fire it off to a method that's gonna, call Privy or whatever.
Yeah, so like if you're using like if this is a Farcaster mini app and you're inside the Farcaster mini app, you have a wallet available and there's just kind of just like this like wallet provider, which is like I recognize that we have a Farcaster wallet and this is what I will give to you. Or it's showing that you have your Privy wallet connected or not connected, or you have your EOA connected or so. Anyways, all this kind of stuff is just kind of
Window.ethereum equivalent or whatever is the current app space and mini app spaces.
exactly. And yeah, anyways, something to talk about. So I'll poke you about it a little bit later, Tom.
Cool.
And then in that voting and endowment fund, August vote complete. So I'm hoping to disperse the funds today, knock on wood. Also withdraw the funds that we for the September events. Anyone who ran a September event, we have some funds for disbursement as well. Nouns prop, it is up on the thing. It's been up for a couple days now. I put it out as expected. It's failing by a lot. I can't 170. Yeah, so we have Nogs. And let's just say that for all of the things that so we did get our money back from some people in the Nouns ecosystem after we made our Nouns card, and we paid $5,000 to our card provider. But I do think that it probably created some ill will towards us on some of these communities as well. So I mean, it is what it is, right? It might not be because of that, but yeah, we just don't know. But anyways, it is going to fail. It's going to end in I think 2 hours or something like that. And so voting ends in 3 hours. Yeah, so it's going to fail as we kind of expected. And I did create a little discussion item later where we can talk about it. So I'll just skip over this for now as we go on this. Working on our own community, historical accounting, and a blog post on our system. How's this going, Arpisty?
I haven't made too much progress on it. Been kind
Okay.
of recovering, but trying to get back into stuff now. So
Okay, I may look at the historical accounting if I get a chance this week, just to get it off of the plate, so we can do it. I'm aware that that historical accounting system, it's really links centered. There's a lot of stuff that I know that probably not everyone else knows. So I'll take a look at it potentially if I get time this week, just so we can kind of get it off of our collective plates and work on things that are actually more interesting. All right, pop into the task perspective. So community pages milestone 1. As I said, this is really on the voting. And so we'll get the snapshot voting and then endowment fund. I don't know, Tom, if you have time or gumption, if you wanted to work on the endowment fund deposit and withdraw using Privy.
Yeah, I can certainly take a peek at it.
All right, yeah, that would be useful. I know that there are a couple of tools that the people who so the people who actually helped me put this out, they're people who live in Toronto, and they were mentioning that they have a completely no dependency version of Pool Together somewhere on GitHub. I could ask them for that if you think it'll help us, because if it's a no dependency version, we could just strip it for the kind of code that we needed.
So just deploy our own contracts, as it were?
No. Well, we have our existing contracts. It's meant to work with.
Yeah, the interface.
Exactly. Yeah. So they made this one Cabana.
Nice.
I think it's
Cabana.
Cabana
That's cool.
.5.
Yeah, a nice built up interface will be great to connect with.
Yeah. So they made a version of this, but with no dependencies. That's what they did at a hackathon once. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And so this is what app.cabana.5. This is just a Pool Together client. And so they're showing a bunch of all of the vaults, or at least the whitelisted vaults and everything like that. So we could let's look at this random vault. We could take the stuff from this specific one, and when you connect your wallet, it actually has callouts here for you to deposit and withdraw. Oh yeah,
Cabana. Yeah, I'll have to remember that one. Looks great. That looks like it's pretty much exactly what you would want to throw out there. It might be a little verbose even for the default user, but we could certainly work with it as a.
I think the big thing right here is really just all we need is these two modals, deposit and withdraw, and not even as modals, just as things in the exactly. So
yeah, the stats are good, but giving people the ability to drill down them maybe via an external link or something like that would be the way.
Yeah. Or we could just send them to the Cabana.5 page, right? We could just be you want to see more stats? Here, go here.
Here's the address, go.
I think a couple things that could be interesting, like total deposited, total depositors as well.
It looks like their URLs might be pretty scrapable too. From the look of it, it's just chain and address in the URL. So
if you go to our site here and it says deposit into our pools, it takes you to the Cabana
one, right?
of our page. But it's this isn't very useful because it's like acting like it's a lottery, which it's not.
Yeah, it could be reskinned to be more specific about like what it is that we're doing for this
Exactly.
bulb for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes some sense to me. Yeah, even just being able to scrape the data though, right? Like off of that URL and just inject it into our own sort of
I don't think
container
you.
would be like
I don't think you.
dead easy, right?
Yeah, I don't think you actually need to. I think like because they have all the stats here, they are and I'll have to look at this open source version of Cabanify with no dependencies. But if there's no dependencies, all of the stats that will be on there will be based upon what's available from the smart contract. So there's a lot available from the smart contract, and if we just cache it smartly, then we can probably have most of these stats.
That was my thinking as well. Obviously, if they're exported in the smart contracts, that would be amazing to get the info to.
Cool. All right. So yes, I signed that to you, and it would be cool to see that. I think I'm working on the staging version of the code base, so
Yep.
probably we should use that.
I'll pull it down and sync it up and start from where you're at.
Oh, you know what? I'm actually using main, but it's because we don't have CI/CD on it. Yeah, so let's just use main for now.
Okay.
And
I'll pull down and make a fork.
Cool, sounds good. All right, so that's community pages. Make it easy for us to get tokens to contributors. Historical accounting is the last thing on this front. Black Flag Endowment Fund. Honestly, what I really need to do is put community pages milestone 1 and Black Flag Endowment Fund on here. But my proposal to Nouns DAO, the last thing we will do is talk about it today, and then we'll mark this off as complete. Add Braille and Bridge to on-ramping. Well, we have Bridge, but we don't have Braille. Both of those, I could probably talk to them today and see. Check the bridges. Bridge and Braille. So I'll follow up with those today. And then using tokens to increase contribution. This is an article that we already discussed. We haven't had progress on. So that is that for the tasks. What did we ship last week? I prepped and held last week's all hands. 2K BCard. I did the voting backend and styling and other stuff for the voting widget over here. So that took about 2.5 hours. So that's 2,500 BCard. Make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Awesome. Prepped and attended the Nouncil call. That was 1,500 BCard. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yep.
All right. Our Christie entered contributor rewards into splits for final review and distribution. 250 BCard. And a Winburst taped and shared last week's all hands. That's 2K BCard. I posted all hands on socials. That's 250 BCard. And I reviewed Sprinkles' PR, cleaned up Vault Warden for 250 BCard. Anything else that we shipped that's not on this list? Okay. All right, let's talk about the nouns prop. Okay, so we started this because, essentially because Sprinkles was looking for something to do, and I said, hey, maybe you can write a prop for Nouns DAO with us. So she wrote it. I picked up the ball from there and started talking to some whales. We got some people from the break even movement were pretty interested in it, and then they ghosted us. And I think at that point the prop really didn't have the support that it needed to pass. And I also think that the feedback that we're getting is useful if we want to continue it. In essence, Nouns is already gathering a bunch of yield on their treasury. That's the word I'm looking for. And so a bunch of people asking, can we just use the existing yield for this? And people aren't sure if it's nounish as well. So like I'll read you actually some of those exact comments on whether or not it is nounish. I think we need some rules on how to get the 64 ETH back. Feels like we're funding Black Flag events. Would like to see a Nouner sign-up form so we know what it's going to Nouns events. Would like to see something about this, but not really sure. So that's kind of like one of them. And then this is just limited to Nouns holders. I think it's a bit too narrow of a scope. Each month, any Noun holder can propose a retrofund event. Feels like we're just distributing money to Nouns holders instead of onboarding new people. So you can see actually these two people have different opinions on what this prop could be. One is like, let's use this to help onboard new people, and the other is kind of like, let's make sure that this is just going to nounish people, to people who have nouns, right? And so it's a little bit different, I would say, in their feedback, but in both cases, they're kind of saying like, well, is this nounish enough? And so ultimately, I think the question that we should answer is, should we continue to push this prop forward? I think I'm not, I mean, it is uncertain to me if we pushed a proposal, for instance, to say, hey, give us 3 ETH, we will distribute it over the next year. Like that could pass. It might not pass, but it could pass, right? Like it's certainly a higher chance of it passing. And that is the feedback that some people gave us, like just ask for the ETH and distribute it to these in real life events. My feeling is kind of like, well, that doesn't really align incentives as much, because we basically have to keep asking for funding, and so it's okay, right? But it's like, it's basically asking, I guess, like ultimately, like putting not too fine a point on it. It would basically put us in a situation where we really have to work hard to make nounish events happen, rather than the community kind of like coming up and making those nounish events happen. Whereas like if there's like 64 ETH of the treasury generating yield, and that yield is going away every month, then I feel like the community is more incentivized to be like, hey, yeah, like let's put our events into this thing. Anyways, before I go on further, does it make sense? What do you guys think? What are some initial thoughts on this?
I don't know. I was kind of trying to figure out like what. Well, you had those 2 examples of the comments, but like, what would they actually be looking for, and then what could be done to like show them that like from the information that we're getting from events, what would show them that like it's achieving the objective that they're trying to get to?
So,
which would I guess be like if I read that the second, or if I am understanding the second comment, it's like they want to promote getting the word out to people that are not currently in the community.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really weird because I talked to a bunch of people about this, and every single person had a different idea of what this prop should do.
Mm-hmm.
There was one person who runs events regularly who's basically like, events should not be for onboarding. Like he really felt strongly about that. He said
Right.
Events should not just be networking events. Events you should try to actually accomplish something. Like he's like, the easiest thing you could do is like a park cleanup. And we shouldn't be funding any events that aren't accomplishing something, that you just kind of beat up. And I pretty much disagree with that, right? I understand why he might say that, and it's probably because specifically at Nouns, there's some like loadedness to funding events. Like in the past, a lot of Nouners have passed events which are basically like, hey, we're gonna have like a super amazing dinner, and we need $5,000 to do it, and they'll just like have a really nice dinner for like 30 people or something like that. And so like these are the kinds of events that they've had in the past. They've also had some like really interesting events where they did like Nounstown in LA, and they did like one where they had like a bunch of people make Nounish videos and put them out. But like there's this kind of like larger scale events which cost like tens of thousands of dollars to pull off. My whole positioning on this was like, we're trying to create smaller scale events. Like we're trying, it's really onerous to try to go through the Nouns governance process. So no one who ever does a small event will ever ask for money, because it takes like a month and a ton of politicking to try to get like it's not even worth it to ask for 1 ETH. Like you need to ask for like at least 2 or 3 ETH to make it worth it for your time. So my point was like, hey, we want to have smaller events to do this. And so I'm moving away from the point, which is like, what are they looking at of this? So that person saying they shouldn't be onboarding, he's like known as the event person in Nouns. Another person's like, you saw on this thing, it's like, yeah, like let's use these events to onboard new people. And I'm kind of like, yeah, honestly, that makes more sense to me. And then there's another point here. This person, the first comment they said, oh, it should go to people who are nounish because basically they see it as like, hey, these events are for people who are nounish to like continue their connection and to inspire each other and kind of like show their projects and move forward. I think ultimately what they would really want, to get to the heart of your question, is they would want like a um, noun specific like brand on all of this. So, hey, this is now the nouns in real life event thing. Here's a noun specific website. Here's a noun specific smart contract. Here's a noun specific submission form. That's what they would probably want to fund it. And even then, even if you did all that, there's no guarantee that people would fund it.
Right.
But that feels like what they want based upon me going to Nouncil a couple times and some of these other things as well. Does that answer your question?
I guess I'm trying to like see how that, because I think like this like platform, or the vault and the funding stuff. I mean, I think it's ultimately it would be like serving broader purposes, and it would be kind of the communities that would determine like what if they're using a vault, what it would be used for. So I don't, I'm just trying to figure out how specific do you want to get with the functionality for like the in real life events thing versus like how do you make the thing work for our different targeted communities that we're kind of targeting.
Exactly. So I think that their normal kind of way to do this is like, hey, you're going to do marketing and you're going to do this, like you're going to make sure that this happens. And it's just like, okay, I understand why they're saying that. But I think like maybe this is a misalignment because like we're just like, we just want to help you guys create engagement with your group, and it feels like something that's missing is nouns in real life engagement. And so maybe they don't feel like that's missing, right? Like maybe there is a misalignment here. But I think ultimately, like for us, like we don't want to get into a situation where we're like over servicing a community. I mean, I feel like we did that with the card, and we didn't actually get the benefit out of it. Like it honestly, I almost felt like it was a distraction. The amount of times we spent on nouns with the card, over what we could have done. So that's why I'm a bit hesitant to get into that kind of game with these proposals. Like, hey, we're gonna run this for you, and everyone's gonna have in real life events, and there's gonna be all these nounish in real life events, and we're gonna work on making nounish in real life events. No, it's kind of like more like, hey, you guys are already having these kinds of things, and we can encourage it with the right incentives. It's a difference. It's a subtle difference, but it's a difference. Sprinkles, I see that you unmuted.
I did. Lynx, how many votes does it have?
It has
0, right? Is it 0?
it's 0-4, and it's 107 against.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one's
It's
gonna vote.
like I also think that there's like so it's a lot, right? Like it's definitely not going to pass, but it's also like the fact that there's 0-4 also
Right.
is just like, well,
That's
no
what I
one
mean.
even is interested at all, right? So
it doesn't really make sense to
continue on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I
no
agree with you.
Okay.
One thing we could do. Sorry, did you have more to say, Sprinkles?
No.
One thing we could do is we could give people with nouns NFTs some voting weight. And then just be like, hey, if you have a noun, you can vote in these in real life events. And if you want to, if you are running a nounish event, you can submit it. I think like in general, to get more events, we could kind of loosen the requirements to just being like, hey, if you have an event and you post it on Black Flag, the Black Flag channel on Farcaster, you post pictures, then I will send you the submission form in your DMs. And then we could kind of say like, hey, if you're running a Nounish event, fill in this form. So we could open it up a little bit more.
Yeah. At the same time, I think if we're opening it up, I think we also want to take into consideration that we probably should try to get more deposits in to boost the yield.
Yep.
Because I mean, if you start having like more events, but the pot stays the same, then it starts to lose any like interest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think like the hope would be that, hey, I mean, so like maybe we have something that was just like, oh, if you want to submit an event, you need to like put $10 into the pool together pool or something like that, right? So we could do something like that, but like the idea being like, hey, we could test something out and see, like the hypothesis being like, if we open this up, more people would be willing to deposit in the pools. And I also think like one thing against that hypothesis is that it's actually not super easy to deposit in those pools right now because it's not like a standard pool together. It's not a standard pool together vault. It's not like there's no easy way to find it, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, but like wouldn't the like if you were to like take that I don't know what you referred to it, that other version of the Cabana client or whatever, and work on that to get it so that like it's more simplified and just for depositing into a yield pool, which could also be like used for other pools for like a nonprofit associations like yield, like people could contribute and the association gets the yield off of it kind of pool. So if there's like some synergy or whatever in creating that component of the app.
Yeah, so I do think that we need to develop this, and I actually think and even like yes, I think like making it easier via the website is a good way to do it. And I think if we really want to make it easy for this kind of early audience, we just make a Farcaster mini app, right? Because that's
okay.
Hey,
Yeah.
you post pictures on Black Flag, which is a Farcaster channel, and then you get and then like you have to deposit, and you have like let's say $10 in $10 deposited in the pool, then you can get retro funding. Like that works really well for an early audience on Farcaster. Like that's probably the easiest path to getting those kind of earlier deposits. In the long run, for a community outside of Farcaster, like a nonprofit, it would be much better for us to get the whole, hey, use your credit card and deposit into this endowment fund, or ACH and deposit into this endowment fund. But that's a couple of steps away. That's a little bit more work than I think doing a Farcaster mini app.
Okay. So like it would be kind of then more like a phase thing. First do the Farcaster mini app or whatever that would just do handle deposits and withdrawals. Maybe first for the Black Flag in real life event pool, but could probably be easily modified to do something like if you were to do something similar to like the Nouns proposal for another group.
Yeah, I think like you're absolutely right that it could be a phase approach. Like, what is the ideal?
Whoops. Links, are you talking?
I can't hear him either.
I think he,
Thanks. We can't hear you. Oh, it's gone.
yeah, he sounded like he dropped off mid-sentence. So
Can you hear me?
Yep.
yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you dropped off mid-sentence there.
Yeah, I think absolutely right that it's a phased approach, and I think like what those phases are, kind of like has a lot to do with the technology, and that's what Tom and I think can talk about a little bit more as he's like working on this endowment fund stuff. But yeah, I guess like if we take away the technology for a second, I think like the idea that if you make things more open and give people kind of ownership in something, they will be willing to contribute. Like that was kind of, I guess, like the operating hypotheses of a lot of those airdrops. I guess like 2 or 3 years ago, and for a lot of for a lot of purposes it worked. But there was like nothing sustainable behind it. I think like using yield could be a way to be sustainable, but I don't think it's obvious what that kind of like, hey, drop tokens, like make things open and people um, will be more likely to take part, right? Like what is it that gets people to participate? But the idea that some people have is like, hey, if you do an airdrop, people will want to participate. So like what's our equivalent? Hey, if you open up events to more people will get attention on this. They will buy into the pool. That will create more yield, which will create more money for events, which will make people more likely, which will create more attention, which will make more people want to run events and deposit in. That's the kind of idea. That there's some sort of flywheel here, but you have to take a leap of faith in a certain direction. And I think like the good thing, like what we're trying to set up is like, hey, we're experimenting. Anyways, I feel like I've been saying a lot of words. Does that make sense? Like this idea that we need to like open it up. I see everyone is muted.
I think it makes sense because sometimes this is just coming from kind of halfway into it, but just thinking about things in general. If you make things like have ownership and make things open and make things more available, just from like a regular folks standpoint, it tends to get a little bit easier to just kind of like have your buy-in and stuff. But that's just my random halfway into the conversation opinion. So
Yeah, so what that openness means, I think, is like either it's easier to deposit or it's easier to submit for events or these other kinds of things. There's a couple of fronts there. But I think I'm not super passionate about continuing to push a nouns proposal, but I would be more interested in like refining our own tools to make it interesting. I think like ideally in a situation like this, you want to set it up so they come to us rather than we go to them, right? Like that's kind of what like be so good they can't ignore you, right? Does that make sense? Like it's not necessarily realistic, but if we get a lot of people, like now that we've had our proposal on chain and it's gotten rejected, I think it's like, we tried to engage the community, it didn't work, but we can work on ourselves, make something really good and see if that creates a situation where they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we actually understand this now and we want to get involved. Anyways. Does it make sense?
So I guess so. If we do something like that, though, would because if you work on a forecaster app, get some engagement, get some more deposits in, would that be enough for showing nouns some progress, or because I'm not sure if they would be interested in like having their own forecaster mini app or whatever to do the same thing. It would probably be like some other way of doing it.
Honestly, if like it's not the be all end all if nouns gets involved, right? Like the reason
Right.
we engage with this is really because I shopped the proposal around to a few people and people said they were interested, and that interest doesn't
Right.
seem to have been sustained, right?
Right.
So
Right.
it's actually, it would be cool if we got nouns involved and they deposited a bunch of ETH, but like if we get them involved and they're not depositing a bunch of ETH, like they're just like submitting events, that's still good, right? That's still a
Mhm.
win. And
And hopefully that there's some way that they see that, okay, well, yeah, I can vote for these events, but if I put some ETH in for or deposit something for more yield, it makes it more, it would make it more interesting.
exactly. So hey, you have a noun, you can vote on this. Oh, hey, I only get 20 votes, but if I put $100 in, I get 100 votes, right? Like that's the
Right.
idea.
Right.
Is that,
Yeah.
like,
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it's like we want people to get involved, but it doesn't have to be nouns. It could just be individuals, right? But like, hey, maybe there's a way to make it interesting to nouners that isn't them depositing a bunch of ETH, right? There's still a
Mhm.
way to engage a community. And that's what we're trying to do, is engage these communities, because we really want to bridge the gap between Web3 and the real world. I actually think that like at a small scale, these in real life events do that, right? Like people are talking about it, people are looking at different technologies, people are sharing what they've learned. And so like we are achieving our mission in some ways, but just not at the scale that we could be doing. And so yeah. Okay. So maybe I'll give some nouns some voting weight. Next, give nouns some voting weight. Post in nouns and solicit real life events, and we'll just go from there and we'll see how it goes. And you're right that we actually have to balance how many events we have with the amount of yield, because it stops being interesting if you're only making like $5. But yeah, cool. Any other thoughts on nouns?
I guess it always comes down to scale, right? Like about like you can. I think a lot about the development push in China over the last whatever number of decades, where they built out cities before that people were ready to move into them, so they had big empty cities ready for people to move into when they were ready. It feels like we're kind of in that phase, right? Where we're just kind of like thinking about infrastructure that we can build out that people will eventually want to move into. And it's weird to build out infrastructure for nobody. It's weird to build ghost cities that like nobody is riding the trains and nobody's living in the houses. But I think that maybe is what it's going to take to handle sort of the future influx when people figure out, what's going on. That you got to have those cities ready to go. That you got to kind of have the infrastructure in place that people can get there real easy, right? Maybe
Yeah.
that's kind of a parallel.
I think it's a good parallel, and I think it's also like inventory of physical goods. You always have to take a leap. You have to like buy the raw materials to build the thing so that you can sell it. And often you're not, like, you need investment to get that material up front, because you only make your money back after you pay it. But yeah, it's I guess like the amount of time I spent on this nouns prop, I would have much rather have spent that time continuing to just build our system, because it would
That's
have
kind
been
of
more.
yeah, my fear about the sort of like the outreach for resources, when really the resources that are like best served are like our thoughts and actions into building cool stuff. But that's kind of always my perspective. I guess it's a weird one. I know
Yeah.
resources are needed, right? But it feels like you know I don't know, like what it is. Like we can generate what it is that we need without necessarily dollars. Dollars are
Exactly.
always a help. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's keep iterating until we find something that's worth people's attention, right? And I think we can, like, Nouns was having a lot of difficulty understanding how this was working. And that's also, my fault, because I didn't necessarily explain it that well. But they were like, how does this work? Is this a black flag thing? Is this a nouns thing? Is this like how does this actually work? And it would have been easier to just like have like look on the website, deposit here, withdraw here. If you deposit, you get this many votes, right? Like it would have been easier to just be like, if you want to see what happens, just deposit into the pool. But there was no good way to do that. All right.
Yeah, I was going to say though, like if like having a simple interface or whatever that kind of gets that point across just by using it, wouldn't that kind of help that messaging?
That's exactly right. And that's kind of on, first of all, me to define that interface and me and Tom to kind of build that interface. But yeah, people could, if you want to implicate yourself in that, it's true. But that is kind of like, that's the Apple approach. Hey, make it easy enough that anyone can use it. And then there's a little bit more depth if you like dig deeper. But like the idea is that like on its surface, the interface looks really, it like the interface explains the functionality itself. It is difficult to actually achieve that, but that's the hope. All right. So we don't have that much time, but I wanted to talk a little bit about creating a parallel system. So our goal here is to bridge the UX gap between Web3 and the real world. We've been doing this using TradFi bridges, but we've kind of seen with BCard that we need to provide a bit more value to get communities involved. Because right now, the amount of money that communities can get using BCard is just not enough for them to be really interested in it. I think like ultimately, BCard, along with some of these other parallel systems, they come with a chicken and egg problem. Crypto doesn't get used by the masses because you can't use it at your local coffee shop, so there's no reason to have crypto, right? Like I can't. Why would I have something that I can't use, right? So there's really no benefit there. There's a chicken and egg problem. You need demand to have supply, and you need supply to have demand, right? And so I think for us to help bridge the gap, we need to serve use cases that actually benefit from blockchain specifically. And we need to build tools to make it easy to do those use cases. In general, I think that like the card that we have actually built may be a couple of steps down that line, right? And so I think like we need to move further up that line of value to make something that communities will actually adopt. And then in the future, they can also like BCard can be part of this. So what use cases can benefit from blockchain? In general, users pay for convenience, entertainment, and to save or make money or time. So cross-border payments, I think, is like a proven use case of crypto. Way more convenient than sending like a Swift transfer or a wire transfer, or using something like Upwork. Digital-only goods, convenience. You see stuff like pods.media doing this, although they don't necessarily do it in that you like quote unquote own the media. It is just kind of hosted and you get access to it. So I think like there are some use cases here that there are probably some other ones too. I mean, if you can think of any use cases that really benefit from blockchain, go ahead and call them out if you like.
I don't know if it's a just very specific use case, but I had heard somebody talk about the automation of sort of like jobs that we all fear is coming with AI. But the one pipeline that seems to be primed for like optimization is like the logistics and tracking pipeline. So it seems to me that like the sheer volume of physical goods that are shipped around the world or whatever, having a inventory management system that's managed by AI, sort of maybe in blockchain, maybe on real time or whatever, is a huge logistical advantage to planners and organizers of all types and all businesses and all governments and all everywhere. So something like that feels like it touches everything, right? It's like the roadways of the 19th century, the railways of the 18th century, whatever it is. It's going to be sort of like that type of pipeline or that type of far-reaching infrastructure of keeping our world organized as it proliferates in complexity.
Yeah, that's true. I think like one of the things like I was thinking, if we just take any random person here, like, hey, why would someone like us use blockchain, or why would someone like one of our friends use blockchain, right? Maybe because they have something to sell, right? So cross-border payments, if you can sell it to people cross-border, right now you can use credit cards and stuff, right? For those kinds of selling things individually to people. You're gonna pay a bit of a fee. You're gonna have to wait for your money to be processed. PayPal is like really, let's say they are like extremely notorious for holding people's funds and basically screwing them over. Stripe is not as bad, but still getting there. I think ultimately any kind of payment provider gets into a point where to handle anti-money laundering laws, they have to do a bunch of things which are not good for the user, and it's very difficult, honestly, to handle all these things. But if you want to sell something and you want to do it in a way that maybe can last a lot longer than having to um, than having to um, like deal with Stripe or PayPal or your bank or something like that. Stuff that needs constant upkeep. There's like a little bit of room here, I think, in crypto that can kind of happen. One of the things I've been thinking about semi recently, we talked about it in the past, an escrow service. I actually think that this is like a core building block of on-chain commerce. If you want to sell something on chain right now, there's not really a lot of good solutions for you to like get up a site up and running very quickly, to get a smart contract up and running very quickly. You could say like, hey, Tom, send me 10 USDC and I'm going to send you the book that I wrote or something like that. And that's a completely manual transaction, right? Like it's not as good as like a WordPress e-commerce site or a Shopify store or something like that, right? Like that's something that I have to do and I have to set up and everything like that. And it's not that easy. So you kind of want like, instead of wallet to wallet, you kind of want a smart contract. You kind of want like a website that people can do. Hopefully that website is accessible in multiple places, like in your wherever wallets are. But yeah, this kind of idea of an escrow service. Why an escrow service? Well, I think it's for some of the things that Auntie Homie's saying here. So she's dealt with a lot of merchant processing issues at her current employment. I think that like right now, as a user, blockchain is a little bit scary. Hey, I'm going to pay $100 for this thing, and I have this like 64-digit 0x code to put in, and the money just goes away right away. Whereas like with a credit card, hey, I can always call and do a chargeback, or for your merchant kind of stuff. If someone steals your card, there is like kind of like recourse and stuff like this. An escrow service sets up a situation where if you like say put out, if you want to sell something really small, like let's say a book, you set up an escrow service where, hey, I'm gonna the money goes in here, it stays there for 3 days. I'll send you the book. If you don't like the book, you get your like money back guarantee, right? Like you get a 3-day money back guarantee or a 30-day money back guarantee or whatever it is, right? Like it sets up a situation for users to have like a little bit more of a TradFi experience on chain. And there are different like ways that that kind of manifests itself. But I feel like I'm rambling and not actually saying things. But what do you guys think of the things that I'm saying?
Yeah, I think an escrow service is a great idea, especially like when it comes to the movement of like small physical things, because lately with the whole cross-border tariffs and postal strikes and things that are slowing down business everywhere, having sort of a service that can smooth that over or make that more straightforward or simpler for businesses, I know would be like a lifesaver for a lot of like small print companies or shipping companies. Yeah, I think you're right about like the payment. It's kind of like a payment processor, right? Really.
Exactly.
You
It's
think?
the building block of a payment processor on chain. that
Yeah, yeah,
can't be evil like Stripe or PayPal are kind of forced to be
right.
because it's on chain and because like it's
Work
like you
is
can't,
very
it's on
big
chain.
code. It's the yeah.
Exactly. So this idea and like an escrow service, first of all, does if you guys don't know what an escrow service is, it's basically like, hey, it's a trusted party. I'm going to hold the money. You guys validate that this sale is good, and then I'll give the money to the person who's selling you. So you often do this with houses. You often do this for importing, exporting. You can use an escrow service for a fee. They usually charge a percentage of the total amount. The escrow service is like a trusted third party that will hold this stuff for you, and then when the stuff is received, they disperse it. But hey, with blockchain, we don't need trusted third parties. We have smart contracts, right? And so um, the building block part of here is in some ways democratizing access to these escrow services to anyone. Hey, you can deploy a smart contract and you configure it so that it's everything that you need. For a print service, for instance, hey, this shirt costs $30, but my materials cost 10 or $15. So I will immediately get that 10, $15. But the rest of the money stays in the escrow for 30 days or whatever. So you configure that as a merchant. And then as a merchant, you work on getting sales based upon that. And if that doesn't work for you, you can change it a little bit. So sorry, Tom, you're right when it's like it's the basis of a new payment processor.
Yeah, and I think the best way to think about even a payment processor job, right, is it's just you're smoothing the friction, right, between people trying to do a thing and people who want a thing. And there are plenty of tools, it feels like, that can smooth a bunch of that friction if we can get them deployed correctly and easy to use enough.
Yeah. So in my mind, I have this idea that like, hey, I want to sell something. How do I do it? Hey, you go to this website, Bestgrow, B Escrow for the B Foundation, Bestgrow. It asks you a bunch of questions about like what you want to do. Hey, I want to offer a money back guarantee, or hey, I don't want to offer a money back guarantee, but I want to like give the client 3 days to be able to change their mind or something like that. Whatever it is, there's a bunch of different ways that you can kind of configure this escrow service. You click submit, it creates a smart contract for you, which allows you to hold the money. We have our own website, which allows you to kind of like send the link to anybody to buy, put it in Farcaster for them to be able to buy, and also the website that allows you to kind of like track your sales, just like a Shopify site. And then potentially also even just like an open source piece of software that, hey, if you want to, you can use this and make your own storefront, right? And then you can use the smart contract knowing that no one can ever rug you. This smart contract is yours. Use it as much as you like. If you if you add a new item or you change your item, and these escrow contracts, I think, would have to be per item, then you would create a new contract, right? And that old contract still exists. It still has money in it potentially. It may like go into that 30 days, but now when you sell that item, you're using the new smart contract with the new kind of configurations that you've done. And now your payment processor is the blockchain. And you're just using it as you would use Stripe or anything else, but you are using it yourself, and you don't have to worry about PayPal holding your funds because that is in code. And as I see we're over time now, I guess we can talk about this a little bit more next week if you guys are interested. But what does that seem like? I mean, does that seem interesting to you? One of the reasons I'm thinking about this is because I'm meeting someone who's really interested in escrow services today. So I was just kind of thinking about this.
I think it worthwhile is just finding customers, as you say, would be the hard thing. Like if you made it friendly and easy enough to use, and like Stripe, right? It became ubiquitous because it was just so easy to integrate. That it'd be pretty great.
Yeah. Well, we talked about like for communities, one of the first things that they want to do is sell merch, right? So if you wanted to sell merch, and we made it really easy for you to do that by creating the smart contract for yourself. I feel like there's a way to get customers that's bottom up, and not top down, right? And I feel like bottom up is really the way that I'm looking at it. But yes, you're absolutely right that it's not easy.
Man, I think that's a cool thing that you kind of hit on a little bit there too, in terms of like a smart contract cash register, right?
Yeah.
So like if you could come up with an extensible function or a reusable function like that really worked for small businesses to use as a cash register to receive payments, that's a smart contract that they could interact with. Like yeah, once it's trusted, like the as soon as people like believe in the smart contracts on Ethereum or wherever to, you know, do that job for them in a very trusted way, that becomes a very marketable product, let's say, for online businesses.
Yeah. And I think the key is that every, like, you configure it differently for each of your kind of items and stuff like it is your smart contract that like basically we are running a website which launches that smart contract for you. So you don't have to know how to code.
Exactly.
It just
you checklist what you need or whatever, like you set the settings up or whatever, and you know it deploys it as an upgradable contract, you know, for you know your authenticated address. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's all doable.
Anyway, something to think about this week. I see we're over time. Sorry for going over. I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here. I really appreciate you all being here. Just having the space to talk through this stuff, I think, is really inspiring to me. So I appreciate it.
Yep. To me too. Thanks for having such good ideas. Make us talk too long.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye for now, guys.